We'll start off easy, right? You did a post saying you learnt a lot in Singapore and Sydney. So learnt a lot. What did you learn that was different from what you've been running in North America and Europe?
Good question. So part of me saying I learned a lot, sometimes I validate stuff, right? Like I think it's a certain way and then I'm there and I validate. Some of it has to do with AWS and some of it has to do with my own company. If I break it down like anyone who's run a global team, right? And in my case, I'm meeting a lot of these folks for the first time.
Hmm.
I hear a lot of things like, "Oh, here it's different."
Yeah.
And I look at them, I go, "I promise you it's not different." Right? It's there are going to be things that are different. So I'll like a nuance of that. Like I was in Sydney, Australia, and it's normal. Like things are different here. And I do understand this coming from America and having America and kind of our tone and our style. And honestly, it could be abrasive or pushy, or I mean, we don't take vacations, holiday, like there's just a bunch of things
Yeah.
that both
Cultural
American
difference.
culture, the American company push into other markets. I've been doing this long enough that I don't see it that way, but there are some things that are the same and some things are different. So the reality is when I'm talking about AWS and I'm talking to my sales teams about, like you could tell me whatever you want, but remember, I'm looking at your data. I'm looking at Salesforce. I'm looking at what you're co-selling. I'm looking at what you're transacting in the marketplace. So the reality is we could talk about something, but then I also see what your behaviors are.
Hmm.
And the thing is, it doesn't matter where I am throughout the world or what AWS team, who I'm talking to. There's always going to be little micro programs, little micro differences, little nuances, leadership, the way that they roll up, who reports to who. Those are always going to be different. That's a lot of the stuff that I learn that it's hard to learn globally, top down.
Yeah.
You have to kind of learn bottom up, meet a bunch of people at the summits. It's great because I roam around to the AWS people. I see them. We go to events. I meet people. I ask them where they are. I'm trying to figure out which leader in the company because I usually know the global leaders where they roll up to. That explains, oh, you're in WWSO or you're in this thing or you're in that thing or, that always helps me. But the reality is our scorecard globally is one thing, but our scorecard locally, it's the dang same thing. We've talked about this. It doesn't matter. It's not different. It's pipeline revenue and marketplace revenue.
Yeah.
Now, making friends, doing co-build stuff, doing local marketing stuff. Like there's a million other things we can apply to this, but the core thing is your data is that. And what I usually am trying to understand and communicate is you're right. Maybe when and how or the words we say when we co-sell or the words we say when we register or the approach that we take with the person because of a style in a local area. That's all up for negotiation. I agree. I do not claim to have the perfect words, the perfect approach, or the perfect answer. But the data is the data. And that data doesn't change. And I get measured, honestly, the impact of our partnership and the measurements that I have to compete against the world's biggest ISVs for time, attention, and mind share. And what I also find is the resourcing in all these other regions is very different. So if you take a market like ANZ, like Australia, New Zealand, they have even less PDM. We talked about like PDM coverage and, the AI. And so if you are not one of the top 5 or 10 or some rising star, whatever you want, you probably aren't going to be a managed partner.
I was going to double down on that because do you have a partner alliance lead in APAC? Do you
I
have
don't.
a U? Right.
I
So
don't.
how
But I
do you
guarantee that was one of my first asks when I left. And I will get it. It's just,
yeah.
it's a when, not an if, right?
I've got a question for you because this is going to be interesting on when you walk into a team
Mm-hmm.
in another theater, another region, who do you immediately sort of gravitate to know that that's going to be your champion after you've left? Who's gonna be your, if you like, your loudspeaker? Do you just scan the room and see who's nodding, or do you say, oh, actually, that's a good persona, good profile? What's your gut? Yeah, there's a
That's
gut
a
feel, but
really
there's
good
a yeah.
question. I do have a slide built for this, but like, why listen to us or me? Which is, it should be a little bit about my background. Like, this isn't the first time I'm doing that. I have expert knowledge in this stuff. It doesn't, it's always different, every company, every thing. But at the end of the day, they got to trust. Like, if I'm asking or suggesting something, Like, A, it's got to benefit them, but they got to trust that I know what I'm doing, right? Like, I always use this analogy. If I was going to go hike Mount Everest for the first time, I could do that by myself, or I'm gonna hire like one of these cloud Sherpa, one of these Sherpas to like,
Yeah.
take me there, right? Like, I'll probably like your potential for getting there and dying, those are probably important to you. So like that's the first thing. Now, the answer is always the senior most leader. So in these markets, the person that's the most important is top down, but that's not where you're going to find the most effective thing. So I have to get the top down to at least be aware, be curious, challenge me, right? And at least to buy in. And truth be told, sometimes I'm already trusted by their boss or their boss's boss.
Yeah. Which
So I
gives
can
you
push
gives you
that down.
credibility as well, right? So yeah.
Well, I could push that down, but nobody
Yeah.
likes that.
Yeah.
So then the truth is the most important relationship for me and for my partnership with AWS is one individual seller. And so as I've flown to these places and I'm in their time zone and I get time with the sales team and we're just talking cloud partnerships and what we're doing and what I'm up to and what, kind of the arc of what we're going to do and how this works, I'll inevitably get one seller who asks a bunch of questions. There'll be a team call and they're like, I'm so sorry. I keep asking all these questions. I was like, actually, no, this is perfect. You're unafraid to ask me a question that I guarantee everyone else wants to hear. But honestly, this is what I love the most. And this is the most important thing is if I leave tomorrow and you now understand how this works, why it benefits you, why it benefits the customer, all of that, then it was worth it because I converted one person into a champion and especially a seller.
Do Kong have more CPPOs through Marketplace, or is that just not, you haven't noticed, or it just isn't a thing there?
Not as much as I'd like. We do a lot of direct deals where we've been a direct sales company.
Yeah.
And in these markets where we have resellers do direct deals too. And a lot of times, if you're breaking into that, marketplace is like, oh, it's more complicated. There's more steps. I don't know, do we have to get it signed and then go do marketplace? It sounds like it's more complicated. Whose terms? Like I always say this in this role, even if me and my team no longer build the private offers, newsflash, me and my team have to be the experts about all things marketplace. Yep. That doesn't mean that I'm building private offers anymore. I know how. Put a console in front of me in all three clouds. I can build them. But that's not the right work for me and my team anymore. And we also travel. And so that you have to be grounded. I think an ops team or deal desk team, like that's the right place to not add risk and redundancy, right? Obviously, like you don't want to wait for me to wake up in the morning on the West Coast in any other time zone. Like that doesn't make sense either. Yeah. But I know every capability. I know how to escalate stuff. I know the nuances. I know how to sell it. I know how to position it. Today, we have a partner. Actually, today, right before this call, we have a partner in Italy. We're working with the partner who sourced the deal. We're working with AWS and partners not on CPPO. Cool. Well, how long do we have? Oh, cool. We have a couple months before the natural time horizon of this deal. Great. Literally, here's the form on AWS. Let's go get them a CPPO partner. Right? Oh, cool. We can go ask the team and find someone. And if they have trouble or need help, yeah, we can probably find someone at AWS that has a goal about bringing in new partners. So like, this is a win for them too.
Yeah.
Right. But like, okay, cool. Like, let's go play this out. Oh, by the way, I also have like MPOP, like Microsoft or, AWS, like rebate credits right now. So like, oh, cool. Now when everyone tries to ask like, oh, well, what's AWS bringing to them? Well, A, they have a huge relationship. B, the customer spends a lot of money. C, they have a lot of information. And D, now, oh, cool. Because of our relationship and partnership, now I'm bringing credits in. So like, yeah, all of these things. This is great. In US baseball, it's a grand slam. Like everyone's happy. Partner, AWS, ISV Kong, and customer. Everyone's happy. Clears all the bases. Most points, runs.
Nice.
So I think that's some of it, right? But it is different. The question I ask is, we have partners, but do we have the right partners? So I'll give you another piece of advice right now is when I'm asking about which partners do we work with, I'll get names. I go take those names. I go on to AWS's website. There's a AWS partner finder. I go look up those partners because my visibility is those are good partners for Kong, but are they good partners for me? And are they good partners with AWS? And like, this is a perfect example with the one I just said. It's like, this is a good partner for us, great partner for us. but that partner's not maybe unaware or just not really engaged with AWS yet. They're not doing CPPO yet. Awesome. Not a problem. It's an opportunity. Like, cool, let's just go get them there. This is great, right? This is actually like, I might actually be helping this partner too, because now they have a new transaction vehicle. Maybe now they can start tapping into all the map program and box and all these great benefits that AWS provides, right? This is a good thing. But I don't always find that we have those partners. So I guess it links back to your previous question. A lot of times I'm going into those markets and I'm asking AWS, who's your best reseller in the region? Who's your best systems integrator in the region? Because it's not the global ones. It might be, but it might not always be the global ones. But there's going to be 2 or 3 that are like, oh yeah, we completely like, we do a ton with these guys, or we really trust them, or the local teams trust them, or whatever. Then for me, I'm trying to match make, but I'm also trying to help my partner team or my sales team say, we don't have to change our behavior. Nothing needs to change. But like the big guy, AWS, is saying like, these are the right ones. And then, yeah, if you can use your relationships or it works out that way. And I just did this yesterday as a follow-up from last week. As I said, hey, this is a partner we know is really good with you guys. We haven't really talked to them. They haven't returned our emails. Can you help do an introduction? Now that's going to go, it doesn't solve the problem, but can you imagine AWS likes and trusts us enough to go ask one of their other partners, like, hey, you should really meet Kong. They're doing a lot with us. That's awesome, right? That's going to move, like any other introduction, that's going to move us faster, differently than we could do this on our own. That's the value of AWS and the partnership.
That's the whole point, right? Less friction, faster deals. So yeah, I think it's something that sometimes legal struggles with a little bit.
It's complicated.
Yeah.
CPPO is complicated. There's more steps. You're now working with a partner that may or may not have done lots and lots of these. It's harder until it's easier. Like many things, it's learned, it's harder in the beginning.
And just talking about just doubling down into Kong as well, because it's a very crowded space, right?
Not for us.
It's not.
I mean, it is in general, not for us.
Okay.
No. There's the biggest competitors we have are Google, AWS, Microsoft, and we have big competitors. There's 1 or 2 smaller, or there's one company who's also like a private company like us, but we have some smaller ones. And because we have a platform that does API management, AI, like then you start getting into like niche competitors in a particular area. So it's not completely crowded like when I've been in security, but like all markets where there's money to be made, there's going to be competition.
So does that change the motion?
We fit in DevOps. By the way, we're classified as DevOps.
Okay.
That's where Kong fits. And there's not that many DevOps partners, which also means in the world of AWS, it's not like that's a huge category where there's a bunch of investment, and it's really important, but it's not, it's like, it's not a huge, they're observable. Sometimes they'll chain observability and DevOps into the same kind of category. And these are they're connected, but they're very different things.
So in terms of APAC, you've got the hyperscalers there, and not necessarily the coverage with AWS. So what does that change your sales motion?
The maturity is different.
Yeah. So right? Does that change
cloud
your sales
maturity
motion?
is different. It does. I think it does, depending on the maturity of the company you're at and the coverage of what you have. Outside of the US too, I would also say like partners play a bigger role in most companies go to markets. We have a presence in Japan. We have a full-on joint business partner. Like it's just a different market. In South Korea, we have, and it depends on like, are you selling to the enterprises? Are you selling to, digital companies? Are you selling to small companies? Are you selling to medium-sized business? Like all of that probably changes a little bit as well. I would say AWS is still like, just pick on ANC. It's still a multi-billion-dollar business. We're not that big, right? We have a $30-40 million business. It's big. That's great. But I said million. I didn't say billion, right? Like there's still lots of opportunity. And, if I go to San Francisco, everyone's talking about AI and everyone's talking about, cloud is like the standard. Like what's a data center, right? If you go to some other country in APJ, I'm still running servers.
Yep.
I'm not bought into one cloud. I have multi-cloud everywhere, right? And if I have cloud at all, so like it's different. And actually, Kong's a really good fit. Like our technology is a really good fit for on-prem and cloud, multi-cloud, multi-model, multi-provide. Like the more complicated your infrastructure is by choice or acquisition or whatever, then actually my world of competition starts getting smaller and smaller. So it's actually a good thing. And then where I might compete with AWS and API Gateway in an account that's 100% AWS, which I'm more likely find in the US, like there, not as much because a lot of the companies are multi-cloud or they still have some on-prem. And so AWS's service isn't like the perfect pick for the partner or for the customer. And because of that, I might actually get more lean in from AWS because my SaaS is built on AWS. So AWS plus Kong is actually better for the customer than AWS trying to like grab it all themselves because they know the customer is using Azure, they're using Google, they still have like on-prem data centers, they're exploring Anthropic, they're using OpenAI. Like I look at that and I was like, oh man, this is exciting. We have the right, we have the right ingredient, like we have the right recipe for all these ingredients. And so I'm actually finding like the thing I found too is that, wow, this is fun. This is like the new frontier that we're actually now it's exciting for me because I see a much bigger opportunity, maybe with less partners and a less crowded space than I would see in the US. And I saw the same thing with security at Lacework. We landed in Australia pretty early. So a lot of the competitors we used to knife fight in the US and Europe, they weren't there. It was only the big guys. It was like Trend and Palo. And I was like, oh, this is great because we're much better. Like we can differentiate from that very easy. So you can sometimes in these other markets, I think that's why some companies, it's scary to move too fast and expand too fast. But we do have the right infrastructure.
Is there anything that breaks that doesn't apply to APJ?
I'm a US company over there. And so we may or may not have PDM support. Like, who do I work with? How does it work? I'm further from the teams that are there. So their knowledge of partnering with clouds or with AWS is a little bit different. So we talk about this being a forever job about program management and enablement. Like that just gets harder and harder, and time zones are hard. So if I don't have local people in that region, then the time slices I'm going to have with them. The good news is APJ, and for me on the West Coast, it's actually I catch them more than I catch Europe. So like our time zones are less likely to intersect than my time zones with Australia.
Yeah.
Right. My afternoon, my evening catches their morning. So it's actually, there's a good few hour window. But we don't get unlimited budgets as alliance leaders. And if I did, I would be really scared and cautious because the reciprocation for how much you put in and how much you get out, we've talked about this on recent episodes. So I think all of that is, I can move from point A to point B. I can see the path. It's always like, how fast do you want to go and finding the balance, but nothing breaks. I would say what breaks is that it was great for the 2 weeks I was there. What's going to happen the 2 weeks after I'm gone? That's what breaks. Everyone is gung ho. Everyone like, this is great. I get it. And then 2 weeks from now or a month from now, I'll go back and look at the data. All gone. Right. And then that's why we say we're like in this constant cycle of teaching, reminding, reinforcing, and if you're not present, that's what's really hard. So that's what breaks is, if you're joining a company that already has a global presence and you have a very small team, like where do you spend your time? How do you enable this? How do you reinforce this? How do you get people excited or get them to lean into this? Like that's art and science.
And I've got a final question, and I'll let you go, right? Has that changed your mindset around previous podcasts that we had, which is, will AI replace partner alliance leads? Just from what you've seen since you've been at Kong.
No.
Okay.
It will, like all things, I'm on the camp of like, there's the doomerism around AI. And I think go back to like old London, right? Like I think the Queen was trying to block sewing machines because it was going to put seamstress out of business. Like, there's going to be an evolution or a revolution. Like there's going to be change, but I see how it's allowing me to be. It's helping an engineer be a 10x engineer. It's helping me be a 10x alliance person.
Yeah.
So maybe we need less alliance people, but maybe there's going to be 1,000 new companies, and each of those companies need a new Andrew or Michael. And that we don't need a 10x team, but there's going to be 10x companies.
Yeah, that
So
makes sense.
I'm on that side of the camp, but a lot of what we do, I don't know when, like, it's still, to me, it's still very methodical and how you use it and when you use it. It's still deterministic, even though I know agents and AI are non-deterministic. That part of them is not very good yet. And there's something about human and interactions that they'll never be able, the conscience that they'll never be able to do.